Hola chicos, hope everybody's doing alright. Hope everybody had a good first day of school. This is Señor Gonze with the first of the video tutorials that we'll be having for some of the different things, especially grammar concepts that we'll be covering this year in Spanish 2 class. Just real quick introduction to how this is going to work. Like I had mentioned in class, typically what I'll try to do, instead of giving a bunch of grammar notes or explaining a grammar concept in class and then giving you homework with it to be done outside of class, I'm going to try to flip that. My hope is that for the most part what I'll do is I'll have these videos on Google Classroom and the notes associated with them so that you can go home and kind of have your first introduction to the concept at home. Take the notes and kind of you can go back and fast forward, rewind as you need to, go over things you need to, and also anybody who's absent can access it easily from home and learn the material there at home, and then come in and practice with it or ask any questions you have about it the next day. Maybe you've done this in some of your other classrooms, but it's just called a flipped classroom, the idea that you kind of learn the information at home or start to be exposed to the information at home and then practice with it more at school as opposed to the opposite. So right now I'm already at 1 minute and 22 seconds. I'm going to try to keep these videos between 2 and 5 minutes. I know that nobody really wants to hear me speak any longer than that. This one is going to be a little bit longer just because it's the introduction. But yeah, this will be the first one. Let's get right into it. So the first concept that we'll be looking at in Spanish 2, there goes the bell, is using adjectives to describe, agreeing in gender. And you can find these notes in that blue packet that you got today in class. I think it's the 6th page from the back. I don't think it has a number on it, but if you just go to the very back of the packet and then count back 6, you'll find it there. Also, you see in this post on Google Classroom, there's the YouTube link for this, but then there's also a blank copy of the notes attached there, so you can download them and fill them out there as well. So, without further ado, first off, what is an adjective? Remember that an adjective is a word that describes a noun, a person, place, thing, or idea. Some examples of adjectives in English would be like blue, or lazy, or lucky, or tall, or short, or big. Like anything that gives a little bit more information about something. And then a noun, of course, is that thing. So anything that's a thing, like desk, chair, pencil, plate, table, TV, anything like that. Any person, place, thing, or idea is a noun. Remember that in Spanish, every single noun has a gender. That is, things are thought of as being either masculine or feminine. Of course, that doesn't mean that they're actually biologically guys or girls, but it's just the idea that for whatever reason, in Spanish, grammatically speaking, they're thought of as being either masculine or feminine. English doesn't really have this, but Spanish has this idea, as do French and some other different foreign languages. Remember also that typically masculine nouns in Spanish end in the letter O, and feminine nouns end in A. So for example, el escritorio is a desk, or el armario is a closet. Those words end in O, and they're considered masculine, whereas feminine nouns like la bandera, a flag, or la puerta, a door, those end in A, and those are considered feminine. That's not always the case. Sometimes there are exceptions. There are masculine nouns that end in A, but for the most part, that holds true. The masculine nouns typically end in O, and feminine nouns end in A. We talk about these things using different words for the and and. For example, we could talk about el chico, the boy, but we wouldn't say el chicos. Instead, we use los chicos. As opposed to English, where you can use the for everything. The boy, the boys, the girl, the girls. The word for the, or for like a boy, a girl, the word for a needs to change according to the number and gender of the thing that it's talking about. So in the same way, un chico talks about a boy, unos chicos talks about some boys. And it breaks down to look something like this. El or un is used for one masculine thing, like el chico or un chico would be the boy or a boy. Los or unos are used for more than one masculine thing. So los chicos would be the boys. Unos chicos would be some boys. You don't know who they are, just random boys. La or una would be used for one feminine thing. So la chica would be the girl specifically. Una chica would be a girl, just any old girl. I think it adjusted my lights, just turned it off, but I think we're good. Las chicas or unas, las or unas would be used for more than one feminine thing. So las chicas, and I think you have a typo, I think it says chicos in your notes, you can change that. Or unas chicas would be for the girls or some girls, some non-specific girls. So that's for the or a or an or some. But let's say for a moment that you want to describe something. You don't just want to say the boy, el chico, but you want to say the tall boy. Just as with the words the and a or an or some, which is el, la, los, las, un, una, unos, or unas, like we just covered, the adjective being used to describe the noun needs to agree or needs to match with the adjective. In the same way that you'd say el chico for the boy, but los chicos, there goes the bell, los chicos for the boys, that el needs to change to los. Similarly, the adjective, the word that describes whatever it is we're talking about, needs to change the ending as well. Keep in mind that in Spanish, typically it's flipped from the English order. In English, we say, for example, the tall boy. In Spanish, literally, you'd say the boy tall. It just changes. Typically, the adjective goes after the noun. So what this looks like, for example, you'll see from that vocab sheet that I handed out earlier, alto means tall. So you could say el chico alto, which would be the tall boy. But if we were talking about a tall girl, the ending of alto has to change to an A. It has to be la chica alta, for example. And that holds true for most adjectives. Pretty much everything that ends in an O changes to an A. Treat everything that you see in this class like that. I'll tell you if there's an exception to it. But again, for the most part, if you see an adjective on your vocab sheet that ends in an O, it's going to change to an A or an OS or an AS, depending on whatever it is that you're talking about. Note though real quick that some adjectives, however, don't end in O or A. Some end in E or a consonant, so anything that's not A, E, I, O, or U. These adjectives generally don't change at all no matter what they're talking about. So for example, paciente is on your vocab list. That means patient. It ends in an E, so it's not going to change. The patient boy would be el chico paciente, and the patient girl would be la chica paciente. It's not like it changes to an A, like pacienta. That's not a word that exists in Spanish. It's just, it stays the same if it's an E, as opposed to an O, which changes to an A. Same with any adjective that ends in a consonant. So for example, the blue hat would be el sombrero azul, but the blue shirt is feminine, but it's still la camiseta azul. It's not like azula exists. So again, unless I tell you otherwise, anything that you see in your vocab list, if it ends in an O, it'll change to an A. If it ends in an E, it'll stay an E always. If it ends in an L or an R or something like that, it'll stay that letter always as well. You won't have to do anything to the end. With one exception that you see there. Some do. So for example, el chico trabajador, which is a hardworking boy, does pick up an A. La chica trabajadora. These are just exceptions. You have to learn these. This is the only one on our vocab list currently, but anything that does have that weird change, I'll draw your attention to as it comes up. So, that's it. I'm way over. I'm 8.5 minutes. Sorry about that. But hope everybody has a good evening, and I will see you tomorrow in class. Adios.